Pineal Stories is intended for information and educational purposes only. The content shared on this podcast should not be taken as medical advice. We aim to raise awareness and foster thoughtful discussion around symptomatic pineal cysts. We are not providing medical guidance or diagnosis. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional regarding any medical concerns or decisions. Every individual situation is unique, and only your doctor can help you determine the best course of action for your health. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us again. This week we're here with Julia, and let's get into it.
My name is Julia. I am now 39 years old. I live about 25 minutes outside of Memphis, Tennessee, but I'm technically in Mississippi. So a lot of people that travel through this area know South Haven or Tunica. There's a bunch of casinos about 15, 25 minutes away. So we live here. Been here for close to 15 years. I'm originally from Chicago. Life is it's different down south.
Yeah, it's a big shift, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, it has been. And um let's see. Up until I got diagnosed, I was an animal control officer. I had been a legal assistant. I worked in shelters and volunteered. I do not have a full-time job at this point in time, other than homeschooling my daughter and kind of not taking life for granted as much, not working as harsh.
That's a good thing. All right.
Yeah.
So when did your symptoms begin?
Ironically, before diagnosis, before I even had any concept of what was going on, there were a Mod Podge set of things that were happening. I felt like uh, I used to walk like 10 miles a day at work, and we would throw pallets of dog food and go out on calls chasing things. It's a
Mhm.
very physically demanding job. But I found that it felt like I was dragging my legs and I couldn't feel my extremities right. I had some vein issues. So I thought, oh, my varicose veins from my daughter is messing up my legs. I need to go to a doctor to have a little procedure done. Within the same time of setting that up, my vision started getting insanely bad. I've always wore glasses since I was 4. So I just figured I needed a new prescription, or maybe I could try and get LASIK. So I'm setting up doctor's appointment after doctor's appointment about different, seemingly unconnected things. um,
Mhm.
and then I went in to have my varicose veins fixed. I get up from the table, finish the procedure. They released me to go home, and on the way home, I have a seizure like episode. Everything jerks to right. My husband thinks I have just fallen asleep because I have said that I don't feel well. But I wake up disoriented. I've urinated. I'm scared. I start crying. Um, call the cardiologist that did the vein fix. And they said that I've never had a patient do that. You need to go straight to the hospital. And they admitted me at the hospital because they have no idea why this has happened and that it's not a common reaction. And um, they just started running tests. I spent a week in the hospital. And at the end of the week, somebody from neuro popped in to give me a very vague and odd diagnosis. Yeah. So I had all of the symptoms. Once I started looking, it was just seemed unrelated. I think for like a year or so before I actually got a diagnosis, I was having issues. I just didn't know what they were. And I thought maybe I was going a little crazy. I thought either, ironically, I thought maybe I had a brain tumor and I was dying,
Okay.
and I had to keep my job because I needed my insurance and my family needed to pay out
And
because,
what
huh?
sorry. I
Go ahead.
I was just curious when you said gave the neurologist at the hospital, what was that vague diagnosis, that first initial diagnosis that you were given? What did they say that it was?
Um, it was a Friday morning, and that day they came in, and it was a nurse had popped in from neuro earlier in the day, and she said, "Hey, has somebody come to talk to you about your mass?"
Oh.
"No, what mass?" "Oh, I thought the doctor had already came to see you." "What doctor?" She was like, "I assume neurology had come to see you already." And I said, "I haven't seen any doctors this morning." And she was like, "Oh, well, he'll be by," and just slams the door.
Oh. No.
So I sat in a hospital bed for the next 4 hours, randomly Googling masses in your brain, kind of having a little bit of a panic attack, kind of crying on and off because I was like, this is exactly, I thought I was either going crazy or I thought I had something happening in my brain. And this is this was verification that the fear that I had was real.
Right.
I sat there in the hospital waiting, and 4 hours later, somebody from neurology comes in, and I said, "Hey, nurse said something about a mass in my brain." She said, "Oh yeah, but it's one that doesn't matter, so it's okay."
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's reassuring.
He said it was what, but what didn't matter?
It was one that doesn't.
Oh, one that doesn't matter.
Yeah, he said yeah, you've got a mass in your brain, but it's one that doesn't matter, so it's okay.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm sitting here going, what kind of mass in your brain doesn't matter?
Right.
Mhm.
Because I've been in the hospital for 5 days at this point in time. They wouldn't let me go to the bathroom without setting off a bed alarm. They were afraid of me just blacking out. My blood pressure was tanking all the time. They were giving me medication to keep my blood pressure up, stimulants. I was drinking Red Bulls, all of the things. They were seeing seizure-like activity on test. They were like, "Oh, this is not great. You can't be unattended." And you're like, "But this, it's no big deal." I'm like,
Yeah.
"What's causing this?" I I'd been struggling, like really struggling with headaches, migraines. I thought it was maybe because of my vision. I didn't really
Mhm.
know, but I was taking a bottle of Excedrin migraine a day, just trying to make it through a workday. And I'm like, "Well, what about the migraines?" He said, "Oh, well, I can set you an appointment up for a migraine, and I can give you something for that. Yeah, that's not that big of a deal." I said, "Okay, so why did I have this seizure or set
Right.
of seizures?" Because the first one happened and then there were subsequent ones after. And he's like, "Oh, well, we don't really know, but you can go home, and if it happens again, we'll run some more tests."
Well, that's reassuring.
Are you
Golly.
sure it has nothing to do with what you found, this mass that doesn't matter? He said, "Oh, yeah, it's a leftover. We don't even, it's not even a reason for it to be there. Um, it used to do something, doesn't do anything anymore. Uh,
Yeah.
the mass wouldn't cause all these things."
Yeah. In the vestigial
Okay.
gland.
Uh-huh. So I left the hospital feeling very confused. I tried for about 2 or 3 days to go with it really doesn't matter. And Monday morning, I was scheduled for the weekend off after being in the hospital. Monday morning, I'm going to go back to work. He said, "I'm fine. The doctor says I'm fine. He said, I can go back to work. I'm going to go back to work." And I felt like I was on a boat. I weaved nonstop. I couldn't keep my balance. I was struggling to go to sleep and then struggling to wake up, and felt so sick, just nauseous anytime I had to turn or move. I was like, is it hot? I didn't know what exactly was going on, but the symptoms had hit really insane levels from the moment that the seizure started, and and never lessened up after that until after surgery. It was progressively more aggressive. So after 2 days of trying to work and trying to like act like everything was okay, I wanted to work, just busted out crying. I was like, I can't do this. It's my scheduled day off. I went to my general practitioner and got FMLA paperwork and started the process because I knew whatever I was about to do was not going to be capable of doing it while I was working. um, I actually got insanely lucky or blessed or had like some good juju or karma, whatever you want to call it, because before everything had hit the fan, I had an appointment scheduled with a eye specialist because I tried to go to see about getting LASIK. The doctor I saw said, "You have the most interesting eyes I've seen since I started doing LASIK," and I was the first doctor to do the surgery in the Memphis area.
Hmm.
So I'm going to send you to the um, ophthalmology colleges here in Memphis. I want you to see a specialist that teaches there. Okay. Said she might be able to help you. I can't do surgery. It's going to cause you worse problems than you already have.
Hmm.
That's all he said. The week after I got out of the hospital was when my scheduled appointment for the eye specialist. I walked in there like I was drunk. I could barely stand my feet. I couldn't take my glasses off. Trying to get my eyes to focus together would make me throw up. And she sat down with me. Wonderful lady. And at this point in time, I had started Googling over the 3-day period between my FMLA paperwork and my doctor's appointment, and had started finding research from MUSC and people getting surgery because this imaginary thing that doesn't do anything actually does things, and it's very damaging for people.
Right.
And I felt like I think my original was a centimeter by a centimeter at the MRI.
Hmm.
And he said it's larger than normal. The doctor that said it doesn't exist said, but that doesn't really matter. Okay. Um, I sent a copy of my MRI to Dr. Patel's office. Um, and they said that I would get on a wait list for an appointment. And they offered me an appointment like in the end of December. 2 or 3 days later is when I saw the doctor at the college. And she sat down and looked at my eyes. She said, "This is neurological. What's going on?" She said, "And based off of the other symptoms that we are seeing, you need a, um, what did she call it? Expedition of medical intervention."
Hmm.
She wrote one while I was sitting there and sent it to Dr. Patel's office. They called me within 48 hours and had an appointment 3 days later.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing
Hmm.
because she said based off of the difference in the tests that she had and the progression she's seen and my medical records that came over from the hospital when she started asking questions, and I was like, "Yeah, here's my chart. Here you go." Um, she said I couldn't drive anymore until things got resolved. I was legally blind, that there was some really not good things happening, that I need to be very careful, light, sound, all of this stuff. She kind of gave me like a cheat sheet of how to survive until you see your new specialist. And she told me good luck and that she hoped that it would help her, that her letter would help me get some help sooner.
Hmm.
And she sent me out the door. And it did. I mean, I had a set time that I had still had insurance through because I would not lose my job while I was on short-term disability. But after 3 months, my job was no longer required to maintain my employment. So if if she had not pushed for intervention or sooner, I don't know, I would have got my surgery before I ran out. I still owe her like all of the fruit baskets.
You didn't have a lot of stops in between that first realization that something was wrong and getting in to see Dr. Patel and getting it taken care of? It seems like it was pretty fast.
Basically between the first seizure and my actual visit with Jared was 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And then from there to the surgery?
It was, let's see, October. It was the first week of November that I went to South Carolina for the first time. It was 2 months to my surgery. I had surgery January 9th, and I hit the ground um, October 18th. So it
Okay, well,
was,
that's the fastest one so far. Congratulations. You win the prize. That's
ah, balloons come down.
I should have
It
had them ready.
was, it was very quick. Um, but things were progressing very fast.
Right.
Um, I went from being able to, I mean, a lot of my job at the shelter was medical care. I went from putting sub-Q fluids and running medications and doing midnight visits and rocking all day long to not being able to get myself out of bed. My husband had to like drag me by my arms into the shower, and I would still not be coherent.
Wow.
He was like, I have ADHD. He was putting my Adderall in my mouth and making me swallow so that I could hopefully sometimes wake up.
Oh my gosh.
I started forgetting to eat. I had a journal from the time that I was sick because my memory got so bad. It was one day I had a kind of a clarity moment because I got up. My mother was living with me at the time. My mom had lupus. Um so she was not well either, but she kept me from doing anything insane, I guess. Um because I put something in the microwave and make something to eat, and then I would come in and go, I'm really, really hungry, and come back and start to make something else again. That day my husband came in and I was sitting there and I just started crying and I was like, I am so hungry and I don't know why. And he was like, well, let me go. He opened the microwave. There's a meal in there. There's a meal in the air fryer. I had cooked 3 or 4 times during the day, but I was so out of it that I couldn't remember to eat the food that I
Huh.
made. And
Wow.
that actually kind of scared me enough that I remember it. Like I not only wrote it down, but I remember thinking I can't stay like this.
So you had the surgery, and what did you notice? Like, what was the first thing you noticed after surgery?
um I had a post-op personal nurse. Her name was Mallory. Um, I remember hearing Mallory's voice telling me, honey, it's time for your nausea medicine. You got to open your eyes and say your name so I can give you your medication. They have to make sure you're coherent. I opened my eyes and I reached out and grabbed poor little Mallory and yanked her to me. Tears are running, and I started yelling in her face that I could see. And I was like, "Mallory, I can see," because I had met her before. And she was like, "I'm so proud of you, honey, but you don't want to throw up. So please tell me your name and then we can celebrate." And then I was like, "My name is Julia Sparso and I can see," and just like sat there sobbing. That was the first 5 minutes of waking up, is my vision was back, like instantly. Colors were vivid. Um, I've painted, done art of some sort, went to design school, all those things from the time I was 9 until I was in my 20s. And I couldn't sit and draw because I couldn't see the paper. There was no clarity of color. It was just a giant fog before. And when I opened my eyes, it was like, even though it was a post-op room, but her hair was like auburn and I could see the red highlights in it. I could see like everything, and it just felt like the whole entire world was bright in a way that hadn't been in longer than I could remember. Yeah, it was really awesome.
That's very cool.
I don't know if anybody else has had that. I literally was afraid I was not going to be able to do anything else or see anything else, you know? And
Yeah.
and that reality check of the world is so amazing was huge.
We've heard that a few times, and that is insanely cool. Wow.
Yeah.
So, all right. So there's your first big reveal. Um, I assume that a few days later you had a lot of pain in the back of your head. I'm guessing.
Hmm.
Um, or did you?
Well, things got interesting.
Okay, let's go with that.
Um, so they did not break down the how you go back to the hotel or the extended stay, wherever you're not at when you leave the hospital rules.
Uh-huh.
They just, said you usually people are here around 3 days. Okay, cool. Um, I woke up the day after my surgery. I had done the whole puking, I had done the whole bedpan situation, and I never had a spinal tap before, but my back was really sore.
Yeah.
And when I woke up that morning, nurse said, "I'll give you the bedpan." I said, I don't want to use bedpan. I want to go to the bathroom." She said, "You want to go to the bathroom?" I was like, "Yep, I want to get up and go to the bathroom." She said, "Okay, that's big girl steps." I was like, "Let's go." She offered to hold my hands so that I wouldn't fall. I said, I don't want to. I feel very almost, it would be disorienting. I need to keep my balance. Kind of like I felt like I was on a tightrope. She said, "Okay, if you can walk in there by yourself, I'll stand in front of you." And she kept her arm out in front of me in case I started to fall.
Right.
I get into the bathroom, do my business. She said, "Do you need help getting up?" I said, I think I can stand on my own." She said, "Okay." Puts her arm out just in case. I follow her in. And when I sit down on the bed by myself and have not, whatever, she said, "Congratulations. You go back to the hotel today." And I said, "Whoa, okay. Wait, what?" She said, "If you can go to the bathroom by yourself
Yeah.
without assistance, you get released." And I was like, "You didn't tell me this ahead of time." No one was prepared for that.
Uh-huh.
So, my husband is now having like the most uh quiet panic attack possible. That
Yeah.
he's like, it hasn't even been 24 hours. I had surgery, on lunch the day before, and this is 8, 9 o'clock in the morning the next day, and they're like, "You can have her," and he was like, "I don't need this. I don't know what to do with this." Um, he didn't say that, but I could tell he was freaking out because we were not prepared to get released so quickly.
Yeah.
Um, so we got released. They give you 3 days worth of medication, all the painkillers, all of the stuff. And that is your till the first post-op checkup. And they already had my post-op checkup scheduled unless I had some kind of emergency, whatever. It was, you know, 5 days out, I think. Um, Problem came in was that usually people get out 2 or 3 days after the surgery, and then when they go on the third day after being released, they still have enough pain medication until the following day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had the standard 3-day prescriptions, but I was only 1 day post-op and I got released. So I run out of painkillers and those things on day 4, and I'm still a day and a half away from seeing the doctor.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't remember it. However, my husband said that sat in the floor between the two beds in our suite, holding my head and making dying animal sounds for hours. Um, so much so that he threatened to take me back to the hospital and leave me in the lobby because he cannot fix this. They said we can't do anything other than get you um, medication in the morning because the pharmacy was already closed. That was the best we could do. I was like, uh, there was a lady that ran a local vape shop. Ironically, since we had been going, he had gotten CBD gummies because it would help with some of the pain sometimes before my surgery.
Mhm.
And he went in there and got some stuff from her beforehand, and she would send things specifically for me. She had given him a little jar for me. She said, you don't want to stay on the pain medication forever. It's not really good for you. So maybe these usually help. I have several people that come in that are neuro patients from USC. I've seen really good results from this. And I remember this little bit because it was the coolest thing ever. I remember sitting there and him looking at me like so close to my face. He said, all I have are these, and I don't know what it'll happen if I were to give it to you. I got to take you back to the hospital. And I grabbed them out of his hand and I ate one because I think there was a moment of clarity. The amount of pain I was in, what's the worst that's going to happen? um, and 20 minutes later, I was still sitting there with a pillow, but I started laughing. And I kind of looked up and he was standing there just watching me, waiting to see like I was going to explode. He didn't know what to do. And he was like, "Why are you laughing? Have you finally lost it?" He thought like the pain had become so overwhelming that I was just hysterical. And I was like, "Nothing hurts." And I don't remember the last time it didn't. And he said, "Nothing." I said, "Nothing hurts."
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. Now the dying animal portion of the day, I'm sure that was not cool.
Yeah, not so great.
Yeah. But the fact that something over the counter, pretty much natural, all the things did did the job, it
Mhm.
was absolutely phenomenal. But that was probably like added 10 years to my husband's age. I feel bad for scaring him so badly. Um,
Yeah. I can imagine, and just for my part, that type of thing, and I won't say anything further than that, but that type of thing, in my personal opinion, was put on this planet by God to heal us. That's what I think of that. And I think that we kind of let our governments mess that up. That's what I think. I don't try to get political here.
yeah. Yeah. I Due to licensing and things that we do, um, we cannot, I cannot pursue um, medicinal usage of things. So I have to go without, unless it's over
Mm,
the counter stuff
right.
uh, that is readily available to the public. But it is frustrating to know that there's people that could be living a very much better life if it were
Absolutely.
not for regulatory issues.
Yeah. I mean, we're both government employees, so not an option for us, but, um, you know, that's, I think that's a shame.
Isn't it sad?
It really
It really
is.
is sad because I didn't take any more pain medication.
Yeah.
I haven't taken any more pain medication actually at all since day 4 post-op.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Um, we got through with what lady at the vape shop had he went and bought another bottle before we left, and that was my make it through. I have used muscle relaxers because as Dr. Patel explained, if you keep the muscle relaxers on board, that's where most of your pain is coming from. It's nerves and muscles. And if you can keep that from bunching up, then you can negate a lot of your pain. And so we stayed on top of those, and I didn't have that kind of pain again. I've had some seriously crazy headaches.
Sure.
Uh, we call them skull crawlers, where like the nerves swell and you can see them pulsing in like your head. My head, I shaved my head before surgery. I didn't like the idea of hair in an incision. It freaked me out. Um,
Right.
so you could sit and see it swell when it would get angry.
Wow.
That has not happened, knock on wood, in close to a year.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have successful surgery. We have I can see. We have I've solved this pain issue, even though it kind of sucked getting there.
Hmm.
What was the next thing that you realized had changed?
Everything changed.
Everything.
Um, Everything changed. I don't even know where to begin. Like there, you could go through and be like, A is for, you know, absent pain issues. One of my symptoms, I know a lot of people, is feeling body aches and
Mm.
feeling just fatigue and yeah, insomnia, but or hyper sleeping. It was one or the other. I would not sleep for 2 or 3 days at a time, and then I would sleep for 3 days at a time. Um, you're not supposed to urinate blood because you've been asleep so long,
Ooh.
but I did. That was where we got to before surgery. So I have slept pretty much every night for at least a few minutes since surgery. Even if I'm still having some insomnia or have some sleep issues, regulatory issues of time and sleeping is hard for me still. But it will happen. Whereas beforehand, your guess was as good as mine.
Hmm.
And I just hope for the best. Um, of course, the I had somebody that I met through a traumatic brain injury group say something to me that I found very helpful. He was in the military, had gotten hit with IED, ground
Mhm.
explosive, traumatic brain injury. Um, and he and I were kind of chatting afterwards and said, "Yeah, but you have all the things like." That's a big deal. You got blew up. And he said, just because you scheduled it doesn't mean it's any less real.
That is profound. I really like that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, that one statement changed how I felt completely because when I came home, I could see my memory was insanely different. It felt like I had woke up and I was in high school yesterday. Everything else was a vivid, weird dream.
Hmm.
Like I knew my husband, I knew my daughter, but it seemed so far away. Like I haven't really talked to one of my friends from high school a lot since we were in our early 20s, just life happened. But it seemed like I should call her and tell her like all of these things because me and her had been very close at that point in time in my life. And that's what felt like the closest proximity to me memory wise at that point. I went through cycles of different memory range, remembering feeling like 22 was yesterday, 25 was yesterday. I feel like I just got my driver's license not long ago. It's very weird. My memory has uh, done strange things. I have to write down everything, lists, and um, my glasses help my left eye and my right eye work together
Hmm.
because my left eye was wandering before surgery. Like it just kind of extreme lazy eye situation.
Hmm.
Um, the left side of my face turns down a tiny bit, almost as if though, you see somebody that's had a stroke, but it's
Right.
not that severe. Um, when I'm very tired or I've had high stress or exposed to extreme stimuli for me, those things become more apparent. Other people can notice them, it's not just me. Um, those things were odd to me because the sense of memory was not the same. And how did this suddenly pop out of nowhere kind of deal for a little while? And that statement truly did make me feel a little better because I felt like I should be able to bounce right back. They said 6 weeks post-op, I could go back to doing what I used to do. You're fine. It's not. It's not like that. It's not that expectation.
So do you feel like getting this done just kind of triggered those memories, or Do you feel like this may have been a thing longer than you realized?
I think it's a bit of both.
Hmm.
I think that the compression that was happening because it had doubled in size between my first MRI and my second and the pathology report
Mhm.
reported that it was double what it was originally. And that's within 3 months.
Wow.
So the amount of pressure that it was putting onto things, I mean, was the seizure-like activity had gotten pretty frequent.
Mhm.
And I feel like that kind of messed with my memory, messed with my head a little bit because things were not processing properly. I've always had insomnia. I've always had sleep issues. I was diagnosed as ADHD at 30. Um, but I was the kid that worked 40 hours in high school while doing trig and advanced algebra and taking AP English and was like, let's do all the things. I'm gonna leave the play. Woohoo, let's do this. I don't need sleep. What's sleep? And
Yeah.
that never stopped until I would say like a couple years before they found it. It would be like I'd run the whole week like I normally had at 2 to 4 hours a night. And then all of a sudden I would go to sleep and not wake up for 16 hours. And I, you know, realistically believed it was just because I did not sleep enough. It's like, it's just, insomnia catching up with me. It's fine. And
Yeah,
now I'm
fair.
like, um, I think there's something not right. Not right all of those times. It's quite interesting to think of. And I had MRIs before. I've had a handful of concussions. My first one that I have for sure memory of was when I was in high school. I blacked out after giving blood and hit my head on a filing cabinet.
Ow.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. That's how I got this nice scar on my chin.
dang.
Uh-huh. My teeth went
Okay.
through my bottom lip. And then I got carted off and got my first MRI because I whacked my head so good.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that might have something to do with it. I don't
Maybe
really
so.
know. Yeah. But that does play a little bit of a part, is wondering how did this come to be? Where does it come from?
We're always listening for commonalities, and there's a bunch as
Mhm.
far as the symptoms that people have. So far, we've not run across in our interviews, we've not run across another person that had Kelly's. She became delusional severely for a long time. I was married to a different person for a while. Um, it was rough, uh, but there are other symptoms: the brain fog, the vision problems, the eye pain, the balance issues, coordinate, all that sort of stuff. There's common threads that we've heard many times, and we're also on the lookout just for our curiosity of if
Yeah.
people have a history that may be in common. We're not doctors, we're not scientists. There's a disclaimer at the beginning of this episode, so it's not something that we're doing in any real capacity, but we're just paying attention. And as we go back and listen to these later, once we go live, we'll be doing it all over again. Just because it would be interesting. And if there is a thread in there where we realize that 80% of the people whack their head at some point, we'll bring that up to Dr. Patel and others. But so far we haven't found that. It's there have been a couple of others that had concussions prior to.
Mhm.
And there's been a whole bunch that didn't say anything about that. And we've had some really good conversations with where head trauma would have come into play in that conversation. So who knows? We're not there yet, but we're going to just keep listening and see what we find out.
I have so many things. I should have wrote down notes while you were just talking because It was a few months before we found, well, we named it Reggie the Brain Gerbil.
That's awesome.
It started off as Silly Billy, the drunk frat guy, because he made me walk like I was drunk. And
Mhm.
then he morphed like a Pokemon as he grew into Reggie the Brain Gerbil because he just bites wires and messes up things. And then I start shaking and pass out. It's super cool. Um, Reggie the Brain Gerbil did a lot of stuff. And especially for something imaginary.
Yeah.
That always makes me go back and go, oh, but he wasn't real. A few months before that, there were other circumstances in other life. I had a very stress-filled job. I had a sick mother. I had things that were going on that had a lot of stress levels. But at one point in time, my husband was like, "We can't do this. Like, you are not you anymore. I don't know if you just don't care. I don't know if you don't want to communicate these things. I don't know what's going on with you, but whatever it is things are not okay."
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't feel like that. I don't know what you're talking about. Um, and that was actually 8 weeks before the seizure.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know I was necessarily having hallucinations, but the worldview was so skewed. Things became so different.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know, Kelly, if you had it, I felt like nothing else out there was of subsequence or
I will just interject that there were certain things in the news back then, um, uh, QAnon being one of them, and that fed into what Kelly was experiencing, because for a while there, I was Q.
oh,
Um, a you know, she all of these horrible things about children on islands that fed into it, and I was part of that ring.
oh,
Um, just every the whatever external things made it in would just weave themselves into those delusions.
for
It
me,
got,
it was more of a depersonalization. I
mm,
could take a pizza out of the oven on a tray and not feel that I burnt the skin off my hands.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's why I got banned from using the stove. They took the knobs off so I couldn't use it. Um, there was no, I felt like I was driving a sim. Like I was up there somewhere and I could
Mhm.
see my body in theory in my mind's eye and was like, oh, well, people will think we're crazy if we don't go do this thing now. Make the sim go over there and make food. That's why I thought I was losing my mind, was because I have felt no um relative connection to my physical being at that point in time. um
That's wild. Wild.
Yeah, it's kind of like the more it progresses, the more you feel like you're just kind of floating above the physical state of being. It's like you're not even really there. You don't want the people that you care about to think something's bad's happening, so you just play along
Mm,
because you're just trying to fit in. And
right.
I think that's what my husband was saying. I was not laughing. I was not talking. I was not having regular communication or conversations or whatever. I was driving a car around doing jobs with a physical little sim body, and that was it. And he was like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm driving the sim. What else do you want from me?" Like, "Are
Oh
you
gosh.
in there?" And I was like, "Mhm." Yeah, that's about the time when I've realized, because at my job, a year before I got mauled at work, um, I had to have like my thumbs sewn back together. I had to have my arms sewed back together. I had my stomach was messed up. Like I got bit quite a few times. So I was going to PT and physical therapy for my hands and things for a little while. And I was talking to a therapist because I was not handling the stress of that very well.
Mhm.
Said, maybe a little PTSD there, guys. You can't follow your coworkers around and make sure that the dogs that you love aren't going to hurt them. And I was like, I know this doesn't make any sense, but I was so worried um, that I thought that all of this distance may have been a part of this PTSD issue I was having. And that
Mhm.
was, I need to work through it through therapy, or maybe I needed some medication or something like that. And it wasn't until, you know, that really hit hard that I realized I really think I'm losing my mind. I started getting scared, but I didn't want anybody to know because um, it sounds insane. It really does.
Yeah.
Uh, I didn't want people to know because if other people knew that I was losing my mind, I would lose my job. And if I really was dying, I would lose my insurance. And my life insurance was tied through my job. And then my daughter would need money to be raised.
Mhm.
So I should just not let anybody know I was crazy.
Wow.
That's an insane theory or concept of place of being. I didn't think anybody noticed or cared that I was just going through the motions. As long as I was doing the things, that's all that mattered, right?
You man, golly, that is a lot, especially for such a relatively short period of time compared to some folks. But you, I mean, that story is certainly closest to Kelly's from what we've heard so far on that side.
Mhm.
So once you were past it, what about your 6 month post surgical mental health? Where are you by that time?
I cannot tell you what I was doing in July. The time schedule just kind of varies. I will say that March of the year, I I was released to drive
Okay.
as soon as we left. They were like, as soon as you're good to go, 6 weeks, you can drive. Welcome back, I have vision. And I was like, okay, cool. My best friend lives in Florida. One of my closest friends. We've known each other since we were 14. And she was like, as soon as you get here, I've got a house key for you. You can come go as you want. You need to take a break.
Mhm.
And so 2 months post-op, I got in the car and drove 16 hours.
Okay. That's a lot.
I didn't drive continuously. We stopped at a
I get it.
hotel and stayed the night and all the good stuff.
Yeah.
But I've always been a traveler. I've been a go-seer. I've been to 43 contiguous states, 5 Canadian provinces, and 3 states in Mexico. I'm going to make my way around the whole northern continent by car at some point. I'm working on it.
Nice.
So to go, you can't drive, you can't see the rest of the things that are on your little list, and all this stuff was a big deal. So as soon as I could drive, I was like, I want to see all the things. I want to see. I want to go. It
Mhm.
was a big, big deal. You know, 2.5 months out, I take a trip. It's a supervised Life 360 trip,
Yeah.
but I take a trip. And I remember I was so excited because life was going to be different. I was going to be different. I was different. We took my daughter to Busch Gardens. Could I ride the merry-go-round? No, I can't ride a carousel. I get
Mm.
nauseous on anything that
Mm.
spins. Children's rides, like the little tiny little dragon baby roller coaster, I might puke. I can't do those things anymore. I used to be like a daredevil. I still have issues with those type of things.
Mm.
Um, did it change things? Absolutely. But I have an opportunity to do things that matter to me again. I wasn't going to live the rest of my life hiding in a house where I literally couldn't. I had Renaud syndrome to the point that I couldn't look up at all. I looked at the floor 24 hours a day. Um, I wore hoodies constantly that had oversized hoods, so the hood would cover my field of vision because I could not handle light on any level. It was debilitating. So the amount of pain that it was involved just trying to look up wasn't worth it. I couldn't, I mean, I didn't look at people that weren't, sitting down if I was standing up for months. Um, so I was like, no, I'm different. Yes, I'm different. The tolerance levels for all of the things completely different. I would say around the 6 month mark, I put on my big girl boots and I went to Chuck E. Cheese. I made it for an hour and a half before the headaches started to hit.
Mm.
I can do more than 2 hours now, but I have to prep. There is, if I know I'm going someplace that's going to be extremely stimulating, whether light, loud sounds, screaming kids, whatever, we're not doing anything super mentally demanding the day before. One of the first big, we have something going on and you need to talk about it post ops was when I would overdo my brain for the day. My husband would talk to me and I wouldn't respond. Like in my head, I would think something, but I wouldn't actually say
It
it.
never made it out. Yeah.
No.
Hmm.
Do you want some of this ice cream? And I looked at him and kind of go back to whatever I was doing. Sit and draw and sketch a lot. So I would just continue sketching. And he's like, if you don't want any, you can say no, or just don't ignore me. It kind of bothers me.
Yeah.
And after a little bit, that's what he says to me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Point it out to me because I don't know this is happening. And he would say, did you think that you said something? And I'm like, mm-hmm, yep, I do. I've nodded my head. And so at this point in time, if we went someplace big or have been um, exhausted for that day, I've put in a whole lot of mental effort.
Mhm.
He'll look at me and ask me a question, and if I don't answer, he's like, "Today was been you've overdone yourself." And I'll nod my head yes. He'll be like, "Okay, we don't have to talk." And we've just come to a smooth conclusion that there are going to be times preemptively that I am going to be out of words.
Wow.
But I also try and pace myself to not get to that point very often.
Have you had follow-ups or meetings with other neurosurgeons or neurologists to discuss this? I'm just curious what they think.
Um, I had a follow-up with a local doctor. Um, and they're like, well, no one really knows what this looks like. So this might be normal for you and this might not be normal. I don't really know because I've never seen anybody that's had this happen, had this done. So
Hmm.
they're like, I don't really know what the complications are beyond craniotomy. Um, because it's something they had never believed to be a thing to do for
Right.
any particular reason. Um, so I'm kind of their baseline of learning a little bit about what this experience might look like. No one here in Memphis area had. I went before my surgery. I did see two other neurologists outside of Dr. Patel because he was like, I want you to see somebody else.
Yeah.
Just see if they catch anything else, whatever. And nobody that I saw here believes that it was real. So, now I'm trying to find a doctor that goes, okay, that was real, and they did take it out. And nah, it does leave a mark, so to speak. Um, they say, the headaches are normal for anybody that has had any kind of brain surgery at all. That there's a certain amount of headaches that a lot of people have. Um, it's just if they go away completely or not. I might lose. I'll say I lose a day because sometimes my sleep patterns will be kind of not great. I might only sleep for an hour and then be really tired for the day. So I feel like I'm in a fog for that day.
Mhm.
Um, but 1 or 2 days a month, I might have a migraine, like a make you lay down in the dark kind of migraine.
Mhm.
Um, well, not a month anymore. For the first year-ish, I lost on average 3 days a month. Now we're down to it being once every 2, 3 months that I have a real hardcore headache. Now, I have small tension headaches, small muscle head, but I mean, I'll be honest, I'll take a regular run-of-the-mill Advil headache every single day in comparison to chronic
Yeah,
migraines that won't go away.
absolutely. So, well, that's good. So the trajectory is correct then,
Mhm.
even though the time frame is a little bit skewed from what we've been hearing from other people, but that's, you know, it's 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 great that it's going in the right way, right direction. And it's really good on our side for the podcast to feature someone who didn't have that. I had it. I waited a year. I'm good. Experience that is, I think, more common. So there are things that can happen, and there are recoveries that aren't going to look like everybody else's. And I'm sorry that that is yours, but I am certainly grateful it's at least moving in the right direction.
The way I feel about it, honestly, is that before surgery, the physical symptoms I had were so hardcore extreme. 95% of my symptoms are gone, are at least minimized.
Hmm.
So light headaches here or there, or having some minimal issues are completely okay. I don't know the science or the math of it to say that there was enough. I know it sound there's no definitive scientific draft paper, any of the things, but I really thoroughly believed and have felt that if there would not have been something to stop the progression, that I would have eventually died for some secondary way. They say that the cyst doesn't cause death. However, I went from never having a seizure in my life to having random things that just I wake up and you've had seizures, you've done this, or you can't. I couldn't function. It was doing a lot of damage. And so I think I said to somebody on the Facebook support group, am I better? Yes. Will I ever lead the same life I did before? No.
Does that
Uh,
feel that definitive to you? Like you will not get back there?
um,
Or are you hedging that a little bit to tell yourself that so that if it does get all better, then yay. And if it doesn't, then you've kind of prepared yourself.
I read something somewhere. It takes up to 5 years for your brain to completely redo any kind of damage or anything that you've had happen. And I'm like, all right, I'm 2.5 years out. Realistically, my timelines, my memory, sleep regulation, and things like that might pop back into line
Mhm.
in the next 2.5 years. However, my viewpoint on life is different. I don't want to work 8 or 10 hour days and then come home and go back to work to do IV bags at midnight and be exhausted. I
Mhm.
want to take my daughter to, she has made it to 27 states. She's like, Mommy, I want to beat you now. I want to catch up. I want to take my daughter to the other 20 states. I want to take time for the things that matter because I wasn't guaranteed that time. My shift in perspective is yes, I want to physically be able to do the things. I used to do fun runs or obstacle courses.
Mhm.
Um, I'd like to be able to do that again, my balance be in that range. If it hits there in the next 2, 3 years, awesome. If it doesn't, I accept that. But I'm working in that direction, see what happens.
Mhm.
But I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to work for it. Whereas at one point in time, I couldn't get in the shower by myself. When how uh how can I not view the world a little bit differently?
Okay. That's great. That having that perspective. So my question about that becomes sort of irrelevant because it's not what you're looking for. You're not looking for that resolution. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You're looking at all of these positives that have happened as a result.
Yes.
That's cool.
All the things that I've found and got to enjoy and the options that I have now are because something terrible and scary happened. But the terrible and scary thing I survived, and now I get all of these days to do something great. I'm writing a book. I've wrote a couple of kids' books. I'm doing some things,
Mhm.
stuff that I wanted to do, but I kept saying, I need to make more money. I need to do this. I need to do that. How do I parent and keep up with family that needs me and all of the stuff? And at some point in time, I had to kind of put my foot down and go, I have to take care of me now.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Are you close enough on the book to name it on the podcast? Because you're welcome to do so. Or is it still in progress?
um, I can give you my kids' book.
Go ahead, go for it. Yeah, this is
Mosey
your
meets a
show.
bunny.
One more time.
Mosey meets a bunny.
Mosey meets a bunny. Sweet.
Yes. It was a real life story. We had a boxer named Mosey, and he did meet a bunny, and it is his story.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah. So all of those things, there's a billion things that I want to do and see and experience. If I get to do those things and be actively part of it, if not, then I'm going to make a really cool scrapbook because I saw them. I was actually there
Yeah,
and I could do it in any capacity. I'm not stuck looking at the ground anymore.
that's awesome. That's perfect. So, what's one thing you want other people to know about symptomatic pineal cysts?
Ooh. The 2 days that I went to work after being released from the hospital were terrifying because I was supposed to be okay and I wasn't.
Hmm.
I came home and I did Google search after Google search, and I found somebody on YouTube called the Pineal Cyst Chick,
Hmm.
and she referenced Dr. Patel and her surgery, and I sat and listened to videos because my head hurt so bad I couldn't really watch her. And that night I sent an email to MUSC asking for intervention. Can you help me? What do I do? My story would be very different if I did not reach out and look for help. Um, the people will tell you this does not exist. This is not real. They don't understand what is going on memory wise or what happened for me to sleep great and then not sleep for 2 or 3 days. Great. Why do you still have insomnia? I don't know. um, but it is way better than it was. Um, However, if you don't reach out to look for that help, it only gets worse.
Yes.
Um, the symptoms are real. You're not crazy. I would not take back a moment of choosing to have the operation.
We always ask the question directly, would you do it again?
100 times over. 100 times over. It gave me a chance to live my life again. So if anybody that listens is on the fence or is scared, it is kind of scary. It is alarming, but I wouldn't take it back ever. Not even for a second.
Okay, well, at this point, I think we should get to the real star of the show and ask Avery if she would like to come in.
Okay, hang on. Come here. It's your turn. You want to sit by me?
Hey, Avery,
Hello. Hey.
come close to the mic. I have questions.
Alright. Where do I sit? Do you want to sit on my lap? I guess. Okay. Hey.
Hey. So, what do you remember about the time that your mom was going through these problems, what really stands out to you? Is that too broad a
So,
question?
no, it is not. I really just remember the fact that she was like going through some struggles and it made me uncomfortable. And I just wants like something good to happen, but it was not going on there. So
Did you ever worry that it wasn't going to get fixed?
I did a lot.
And when your mother got the surgery and started getting better, what difference did you notice in your mother?
I noticed she was happier. I noticed she was moving around more, and that made me a lot more happier than I was before.
Yeah,
It made
that's
a
cool.
difference.
So if you think about your mom before the surgery and your mom now, what's your favorite change?
My favorite change is that she is not going through the struggles where she has to lay in a dark room basically all the time. And I'm more happy about the fact that she can move around, do more stuff than before, and the progress she's made.
That's awesome. We had a another young woman on who said that her fun mom was back. Her her fun mom had left for a while, and now her fun mom is back. Does it feel
That's
like that?
basically,
Maybe.
yeah, that's
There we go.
basically what I'm saying.
That's cool.
Since
Okay.
I've had surgery, we've done a lot more things, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds like you got a lot of plans for things to do. Yeah, I hope that we can kind of keep up with y'all and hear about these things as they go. Because and if you're willing, if things were to progress, things were to get better, you were to have a setback, whatever, we're very interested in the folks that we're interviewing and would love to keep up. So,
Yeah.
Avery, I really appreciate you being part of this. That was cool.
Thank you.
Okay. So anything else that either one of you would like people to know?
Uh, um, I would want to like say to children of struggling parents with like the rare thing, um, just don't get stuck on your iPad all anxious like me when I was,
Uh,
because I was like really sad about it, and yeah, I I was not doing I was not doing good.
yeah, that's hard. My son is 14. Our son is 14. And we actually interviewed him for this too. And it was in the interview that we found out that he had nightmares about his mom having these problems. And we didn't know that before. So it's good to talk about stuff sometimes.
At 7, she would have mild panic attacks, like
Mm.
start to hyperventilate if she couldn't see me for too long because she would get scared that something bad had happened.
Oh,
Um, it took slow and steady working at it that I'm okay. I'm okay. You can go to the doctor and I can get blood work done, and it doesn't mean anything bad's happening. It's okay. I'm better now. Things are getting
yeah,
better.
absolutely. Yeah, if you have the opportunity when it comes out to listen to my sons, we are putting explicit warnings on all the episodes just because the content itself can be, you know, uh,
Yeah.
it might be a interesting listen for you.
Yeah.
Uh, I think we covered everything. Anything else, Avery, Julia, either one of y'all?
There's a lot that I was doing when she was like stuck in like the dark room era.
In my
Mhm.
dark room era.
The
Yeah,
dark room era. I like that. I mean, I don't really like it,
you're
but
you're s-
that's
you're stuck era.
Yeah, it was stuff.
Basically, just don't stick to the couch and stay on a electronic, cause that just doesn't help your mind when your struggling parent is stuck in a dark room.
That's good advice for everybody all the time.
Yeah.
Well done. Avery, Julia, thanks so much. Thanks everybody for listening. We really appreciate the support and hope to see you again next week. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for listening to this episode of Pineal Stories, where patient voices matter and real stories have the power to drive change. If you or someone you love is living with a symptomatic pineal cyst, know that you are not alone. Our community is growing, and your experience matters. Share your story, connect with others, and help us push the medical conversation forward. Visit pinealstories.com to explore more stories, submit your own, and stay connected. And if you found this episode meaningful, please consider leaving a review and sharing it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, stay strong, stay informed, and keep speaking up. This is Michael Abels with my wife Kelly, and you've been listening to Pineal Stories. Thanks, y'all.